This week on Case Studies with the Biz Doc, it's Grab, coming out of Southeast Asia, and a recommendation that you made on my Discord channel, and thank you for doing it. I've got the history, the venture funding, and the amazing large public entrance they're going to make via a SPAC this week. Grab. What a great company coming out of Southeast Asia. It was your recommendation. I love this case study because it is an amazing multi-billion-dollar company that nobody knows about. So let's go into number one, the history, the venture funding, the origins, how they added things, a fight with Uber that became a partnership with Uber, and then where they're going next and lessons for you and me. So the idea comes up in 2012 when these two guys, Anthony Tan and Tan Hui Ling, build the company. And actually it was the idea that this guy, Anthony Tan, came to his mind out of Harvard Business School. And he had an idea in Malaysia to have a taxi service that would be safer, better, and more reliable for people that are in Malaysia, specifically Kuala Lumpur. So there he is at Harvard, and he got a small grant, believe it or not, from Harvard to take and make his idea a reality. And from there, it gets off and running. So let's take a look. As we step back in 2012, it was simply known as MyTeski. A year later, that would become Grab Taxi, as in, hey, let's grab a taxi. Now, if you think about it, that's sort of the way Lyft named it. Uber was named, Super or Uber or Stupendous or something, whereas Lyft was like, hey, I need a Lyft, and it was named that way. Well, that's where they went here. Hey, let's grab a taxi. Well, first of all, they get $10 million in April of 2014. Then they raise $15 million in May of 2014. Now, this should be your first clue that things in this momentum wheel are going to start spinning and it's going to go fast. You need a lot of money to do what they do because if you've seen the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been raised by Lyft and by Uber, certain companies that you go to build, man, you need money and you need stacks of it. So now, the first 2 months there, over April, May, they raised $25 million, and they took a little breather over the summer, but in October, they raised $65 million. And an interesting thing happened. In December, they raised $250 million, $250 million from SoftBank. So here we are. Take a look at this. This is pretty amazing. This is almost $400 million that they've raised just in 2014. Now, August 2015, $350 million was raised by Didi. We know who Didi is. That is the Chinese Uber. We know who SoftBank is. That's one of the biggest investors on the planet. So now they have attracted the attention of people and they are getting traction. They were the first e-taxi company. Was it, Paul? They got about 100 of those taxis by BYD, I think it was, the E6 or whatever it is. They had electric taxis. He had a fleet of 100 of them, which at the time they said, hey, this is the biggest fleet of such kind of cars that's ever been put together of these taxis. And it took money to put that together because now they're buying cars or leasing cars, and out there they need that. Now, they would also add to it a traditional ride share like an Uber or a Lyft, where it's somebody else's car, but you've got an app, you can see what you go, you call the driver, they come get you, and Uber makes a cut, the driver makes a cut. Grab Taxi simply became Grab, which is how we know it. This has been a big momentum wheel as they brought a product into a part of the world that hadn't seen this before and was utilizing it. They were focused on safety. They were focused on the riders and the consumers, and they started filling in the gaps with natural extensions of the software and what they were building until they built what's called a super app. Now, what's a super app? A super app is a lot of times they talk about certain countries and regions that have a super app that does a number of things. Here in the United States, you could get an Uber app or a Lyft app, and that's what it does. Now, you could also, there's Uber Eats and there's other things that have been added, but they really loaded up the super app. So you had Grab Car, Grab Bike, Grab Hitch, which was hitch a ride, like ride sharing, Grab Express, delivery, Grab Chat, and Grab Pay, which, believe it or not, was very, very similar to Square and similar to eBay and being able to pay. Then Grab Coach. You need to get a bus, get a group of people going someplace, grab a coach. Because in those English-speaking countries around the world, sometimes they're not called buses, they're called a motor coach. So Grab Coach. So here they are building all these additional services, and boy, they got the money to do it. So now once a year, they're raising money. 350, as I just covered, was in August coming from Didi, the Chinese Uber. And then $750 million a year later in September from SoftBank, Didi, and Honda. Really? So you bought some of the BYD cars, were making it into your taxis, got the attention. Now Honda Motor Company they're investing in it. Would any other auto manufacturers be interested? Let's look. They continue to grow. They raised $2.5 billion in August of 17 from SoftBank, Didi, who are following their investments. Didi, SoftBank. Toyota joins Honda. Now you think about who's invested in this company. Aren't all those people, isn't it kind of crowded at the table? Well, it is, but they've also achieved a $6 billion valuation. Wait, let's step back. This company was founded in 2012 on like $15,000 or $20,000 grant that he got from Harvard Business School. That's Anthony Tan, got that from Harvard. And in 6 short years, this thing is suddenly valued at $6 billion, expanding in all these countries all over Southeast Asia. You know, we've got Thailand, we've got Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore. It's really expanding, and the people over there have a hunger for these services, and it's working, and it's being adopted. And they've got big money investors. Well, that's $6 billion. Well, let's just go a year later, $10 billion valuation. They raised $1 billion and $1 billion, and the following year is $11 billion, and they raised like 200, 300, 50, 100. There were so many micro investments in Series H. When I say micro investments, and you're talking $100 million, you know you're in the $1 billion club when that kind of number is up there. And in the end, they raised $12 billion. 2018, Uber was taking its success in the United States and going all over the place. They went to London, where they had a lot of trouble over there at the London cabs. London cabs are known for being clean, known for having very knowledgeable, good drivers, and a lot of tests and qualifications you have there. And Uber wheeled into town, was like, yeah, we're just going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, guess what? It didn't work so well. And at times in some of these international markets, the ego and bravado of Uber was met with the hand saying, oh, no, you don't. Well, in Southeast Asia, Uber had been investing in some of these markets and making some traction. Now, there's a strategy here many people feel that Uber was employing was they didn't want Grab to win. They didn't want Grab to have the whole market to themselves. And they were also, in certain markets, actually competing with Didi, not specifically here, but Didi is also an investor. So what happened? In 2018, there was a merger. They called it a merger. I call it a settlement. And the merger went like this. Uber would get 28% of Grab. In exchange, they would turn over all their business in these territories in Southeast Asia and get one board seat. Now, the board seat didn't go to Travis Kalanick. The board seat went to Dara. And Dara had become the CEO of Uber. And so this was really kind of a settlement where Uber gets 28% and they get a board seat. They also got something that was called a redemption right. Here's what a redemption right is. It means I'm going to invest in you and I have a right to redeem my investment and get paid back at a certain date in the future. In this case, the redemption right was $2 billion, that over the course of time, Uber would receive $2 billion in exchange for the 28% if they don't go public. If they do go public, then the public market takes care of this. So this was a way to get Uber, who was continuing to raise money even after their IPO, because they were not yet profitable, but they were big, they had long arms, and Dara was doing his best to consolidate operations and stabilize Uber following the firing of Travis Kalanick by the board. So Uber, this ends up being good for Uber in that they end up with 28% or $2 billion in a few years in exchange for that, and a board seat to keep an eye on things. And it was also good for Grab, because now Uber, with big money coming from the Saudi family investment and other places, they had the ability to stick around and make it difficult. They all say no. There's another winner. Other winner in here? SoftBank, because SoftBank was an investor in both of them. There's also something else that was kind of interesting here, is that Uber had bailed out of China. And I don't want to say bailed out, but they had kind of not been as successful as they hoped, and they pulled back. Paul, was it 2016? I think it was 2016.
I think you're right, Tom.
Where Didi kind of whooped up on them, and Didi had the government behind them, and they came out. Then Yandex in Russia, Uber pulled back in 2017, which showed you just because you've got money, a good business model, and something that works, you can't just go descending in a lot of countries. And there are countries such as Russia and China that tend to favor the home team or don't want Western, specifically U.S. companies, just to come parachuting in and kind of take over and own markets. And Uber backed out of them. Well, here's Southeast Asia, they back out, but now they back out with an economic way out the back door that actually helps Grab, because now Uber says, okay, I'm not going to bother you anymore. You've got the market mostly to yourself with the other local competitors. So that's basically what happened to Uber and Grab.
I have a question.
We're filming here.
This won't take long.
Make it quick.
Let me get this straight. Uber is fighting with Grab in Southeast Asia.
Yes.
And Grab is doing a bit better.
Yes, they were.
But Uber got 28% of Grab.
That's right.
And if Grab doesn't go public, then Uber will get $2 billion.
On top of the 28%.
Yes. And so Uber got 28% of Grab and $2 billion just to quit?
Well, it is quitting. It's kind of a merger, but yeah, they basically got paid to quit.
I would rather win and really know I won than quit.
You know what? I understand that.
Okay, Brooker out.
So what's next? Well, they've raised $12 billion since a little grant from Harvard in 2012. We're sitting here in 2021. That's 9 years, $12 billion raised, multiple countries merged with Uber, settled with Uber, whatever you want to call it. And now it's going to be a $40 billion valuation SPAC on the stock market, NASDAQ, ticker symbol GRAB, in July of 2021, shortly after we film this. There's only one word for that, and that is damn! Unbelievable. You take a look at this over 9 years. Where have we seen something like this? Most of us here that are watching for the first time this case study, or got the first time you've heard about Grab, don't know this. And here we have in Southeast Asia, starting in Malaysia, moving to Singapore, and heading to New York, we've got Grab. Boy, that's tiring to think about that. That is an amazing, amazing run. I've loved doing this case study, and I was backing up and saying, well, now what lessons do we have if I've got a small technology company here in the United States, or I've got a t-shirt company in Berlin? What do I do? How do I learn from this? This is so big, so complicated, a giant deal. I'm never going to do that. Well, hang on. There are some lessons that we can apply. The first is build on it logically. Take a look at how they built products upon products. These offerings followed in natural order right down to a pay system. But obviously they had to be successful one at a time. And you don't have to be building major products in multiple countries to build on it logically. Just don't get distracted. Stay in your lane and build on your product and what you're doing very logically. Then momentum kills. Make momentum with each thing you add. If you're not gaining momentum and good traction with what you've got, even if you've got a lot of good ideas, don't invest in those ideas just yet. Keep working on them off to the side. Gain momentum for each thing you're doing well. If you take a careful look here, the car and the taxi play was doing very well. They added everything onto it. They confirmed momentum, market by market expansion, then they added. So momentum will kill. Who does it kill? Your competitor, if you do it in the right way. It will kill you. The momentum of having too many things going on at once will actually kill you if you're not ready for it. And lastly, second inventors win too. This was not the first ride sharing, the first taxi, but they learned a lot around the world from the other companies that have been successful doing it. And that, my friends, is Grab. They grabbed market share, they grabbed one product at a time, and they're about to grab some headlines in New York. Well, that's what I think, but what do you think about Grab? Leave a comment down below. I answer as many as I can. And while you're there, subscribe to Valuetainment and hit the bell so you get notifications of more great content. And if you like this case study, go check this one out. I think you'll like it too. Until next time, I'm Ellsworth, the Biz Doc, and I hope I left you better than I found you.